Hey guys, and welcome to my first top 10 video. Alright, so we are currently 6 episodes into Death Battle Season 3. Anyway, the point of this video is to count down my top 10 wanted death battles. Obviously, I'm not gonna be able to do any fights that have already happened. I'm not going to request any rematches or anything like that, because I don't think any are required. The only rules for this video are the fact that I need to enjoy the concept of this fight, and I need to want to see it. Obviously, that's what this video is called, Top 10 Wanted Death Battles. Now that I think about it, I'll probably title this video Top 10 Death Battles That I Want to See. Well, since there's not really much elaboration that goes into this, let's get right into the Top 10 Death Battles That I Want to See sometime in the future. Wow, that was more of a mouthful than I thought it was gonna be. Anyway, let's get right in. My first suggestion probably won't come as a surprise to many of you. What'll come as a surprise is the fact that it's number 10 out of 10. Well, that's because I don't really feel this fight. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love both the characters. I'm just not sure how good of a fight it would be in the end. Crash versus Spyro. This is one of those rivalry fights. I mean, it was just that they were big competitors back in the day. I mean, I suppose if you're going by classic Spyro, they do have a lot of similarities. Although Spyro does have fire on his side. But if you're going by every Spyro, which a lot of the times Death Battle does, the Legend of Spyro series actually gave Spyro a lot of really good abilities that would instantly defeat Crash. To be honest, thinking about it, their technology is honestly pretty matched. I mean, Crash has a jetpack to counter Spyro's UFO and that flying ability that he can get. So yeah, of these two, just because of how little I remember about Crash, I'll have to say I think Spyro would win this fight. And to be honest, originally this was number 9, but after I did my little bit of research on the fight, I changed what fight it was, and I was more interested in it. So, since I don't have anything else to say for this, let's go straight into the next one. You know, like I said, originally this was going to be number 10, so it went through a lot of iterations. Like, at first, I had 2 fairly obscure characters. Obscure might be the wrong word, but it wouldn't have been an interesting fight to see. They're not characters you would recognize at all. I mean, seriously, originally I was going to have Senator Armstrong from Metal Gear Rising versus Greed from Fullmetal Alchemist. So then I decided, you know what, maybe I can look into some more generic choices people have come up with. So just when I was watching videos, I saw a character I liked, and I was like, hey, why don't I look up who people think she should fight? So then I looked up Amy Rose versus, found a bunch of suggestions. One that I just decided to look into, Amy Rose versus Harley Quinn. Then was moving on to find a different one when I found a picture that was labeled Amy versus Rosie. So I decided to look into it, and I found out about Rosie the Rascal, who is quite literally, in the Sonic universe, legitimately is an evil version of Amy, or anti-Amy. And now I had a much more interesting fight on my hands. Rosie the Rascal versus Harley Quinn. So, the reason I think this dynamic works much better than with Amy versus Harley is that Amy and Harley only have a few, I guess, coincidental similarities. They both use hammers and they're both obsessed with someone in some way. You know, Harley and the Joker, Amy and Sonic. But their obsessions are different. Well, Rosie is quite literally psychopathic, like psychotic. Her mind is basically non-existent at this point. Even in the comic, she admits that her mind has been broken. And yeah, that's another thing that might keep this death battle from ever happening in reality, is the fact that she's entirely from the comics, barely has any feats, we don't know anything about her. But to be fair, we can easily say we can scale her to Amy because she is literally the alternate universe version of her. But there obviously would be some differences. I mean, look at this hammer. No, really, look at this freaking hammer, I mean, seriously. And she is obsessed with the alternate universe version of Sonic, Scourge, but in a much different way than Harley Quinn, admittedly. I think it's a better match than Amy versus Harley because just both psychopaths, you know? Psychopaths with hammers. So her obsession is she's constantly wanting to smash his head in because he's not noticing her. That's basically the gist of it, to be completely honest with you. I don't really know why, but I don't question it. You know, if I actually sit back and think about this fight, it isn't fair. Like, Amy and Rosie, by extension, are way too fast for Harley Quinn to reasonably handle, as she's human. Not to mention, the Pico Pico hammer is way too OP. By the way, yes, this looks different, but it is still a Pico Pico hammer. Pico Pico, Pico Pico, Pico Pico, Pico Pico, Pico Pico, Pico Pico. Okay, I will never mess up on that, but it sounds really weird saying it. Not to mention Harley Quinn's hammer that she uses is a normal hammer. Nothing special. As opposed to the Pico Pico hammer, which is extremely strong and obviously durable. By the way, that's one of Rosie's only feats. She managed to break Amy's hammer, even though they are literally matched in durability and strength, the two hammers. Although, seriously, I honestly doubt that. Look at this hammer. It just screams death awaits anyone who faces me. I guess the only thing I can say defending Harley is that she uses guns. But yeah, that would never be enough, I'm sorry. So yeah, I obviously think Rosie would win this. I just love how many similarities they have. Alright, so, on to the next one. This one is one that you find normally when you're looking up different death battles. It's one of those really popular ones, and you know what that means. Marvel versus DC. And this fight is Scarlet Witch versus Raven. And by the way, no, not Teen Titan Raven. We're talking about full-fledged Raven. So, both telekinetic powers, really good with them. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's any similarity in their backstories. I only sort of know Scarlet Witches because it's shared with Quicksilver for the most part. But honestly, I don't know that much about Raven. This one will be very short. I'm just going above and beyond making these voiceover sections with clips, mind you. So yeah, I don't think you guys really mind. Don't worry, there are some long ones in there. But yeah, summarize the main reasons I want to see this are just Marvel vs. DC and psychokinetic people, or telekinetic, whichever one it is. But yeah, that's it for this part. Alright, let's get right on to the next one. Alright, so this one got changed a lot throughout the production of this video. In fact, this is actually a re-recording of this section because I didn't like how the first one came out. But anyway, this was originally a completely different fight, but you don't care about that. It's an honorable mention that you'll see later on. Doesn't really matter which one. But anyway, I changed it to Ryuko Matoi from Kill la Kill versus Nariko from Heavenly Sword. Alright, this is a very weird matchup, like they're two completely different people, or at least it looks like that from the outside. So let's get into my mentality for choosing this. They're both amazing sword fighters using two-piece weapons, scissor blades. They're two parts, and I doubt you guys know Nariko, which is why I'm showing you a clip right now of how she uses a two-piece weapon. Anyway, they each have a super form, although Nariko's kills her slowly. Technically, Nariko just fighting kills her slowly, but yeah, that's a thing about a heavenly sword, that nothing she can really do about that. And I don't think in a death battle they would actually count that against her. I think she would just survive until the end. I don't think the sword would end up killing her. And yeah, it's almost like spoilers for Kill la Kill, saying that Ryuko has a super form, but at the same time, I don't care. And if you even dare say that this is outside help for Ryuko's part, then I will instantly retort, well, technically, Nariko's sword has a soul of its own, and it's so powerful that she can't even manage it. I mean, it doesn't really get personified, it's not like it speaks to her openly or anything, but it is another sentient being if you really want to be that annoying about it. Anyway, that's it for this part. Sorry if you were expecting more, but yeah, I mean, I don't really know the exact speeds, but seeing clips and stuff, like the clips I'm using right here, they seem pretty even as far as speed and stuff goes, although Ryuko's faster. I mean, I can just say that right now. I think they're pretty even when it comes to skill level, though. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. You guys who have been on my channel for, at the very least, a few months, really should have expected this one. Maka Albarn versus Ruby Rose. So, they're both schoolgirls who use a giant scythe and defeat monsters for a living. It's basically their job. I mean, it's as simple as that. That's as simple as I can put it for why I decided that this would be a good fight. But I might as well touch on the complications of it, mainly dealing with the whole outside help thing, because, I mean, there was actually a YouTube commenter who I'm sure is watching this video. Maka in the department of outside help is kind of touchy, but I don't really know if Duffbell would see it that way. You see, you know how I said they both use scythes? Yeah, anyone who's seen Soul Eater won't be surprised by this revelation, but yeah, her weapon is also her friend. His name is Soul. In other words, she needs her friend to really, you know, fight. I mean, don't get me wrong, she has a lot of cool feats without Soul, but that doesn't change the fact that she always fights with him, and Ruby's probably fast enough to get around a lot of the other tactics she has. Don't get me wrong, I haven't seen the manga. I haven't read the manga because I don't know where to find the manga, and I'm not really in the mood to pay for the manga. I mean, that sounds really awful, but I'm really not. But I don't know of any feats of Maka's that would make her close to how fast Ruby can be. I mean, she's fast enough to shatter a wall just by running up to it. Shatter might be the wrong word, but I'm showing the scene. You can figure it out for yourself, whether that's shattering or whatever it is. But yeah, if Soul is allowed to be in here, this could be a very cool fight, and I don't really mind if Maka wins or if Ruby wins. Personally, at this point, Ruby is not over yet. Ruby is far from over. We don't know Ruby's full power and all that. But yeah, at this point, obviously, I think Maka would win this fight. I mean, it's not really much of a question at this point. We'll have to wait to see what Ruby's powers are able to accomplish before we really get down to hard decisions. But anyway, on to the next one. So, right off the bat, just so you guys know, Nathan Drake is one of the combatants in this fight. But what you guys might be surprised about is the fact that I did not pair him up against the person who everyone does. Lara Croft just seemed too OP, so instead I went with Indiana Jones versus Nathan Drake. I mean, they aren't exactly the same, but they have a lot of similarities. They're both treasure hunters. With this most recent game, both of them have whips, or, you know, whip-like things. They can use them against enemies and stuff. They both are good with guns, but Indiana Jones doesn't usually use guns, other than his trademark pistol, whereas Nathan Drake uses a bunch of weaponry. Honestly, I think the only clear way that Nathan Drake has the upper hand is in durability, because we've seen him survive much worse. Like dangling off a train car in the Himalayas after being shot in the gut. Yeah. So yeah, I just thought a treasure hunter death battle would be a cool idea, and I thought this fight made more sense than Lara Croft, because seriously, the things she does. But hey, if they do Nathan Drake versus Lara Croft sometime in the future instead of this, I'm totally fine with it. I mean, I just want a treasure hunter death battle, and I thought this would make more sense. Although I'm sure that Lara Croft isn't as OP as I think she is. Well, anyway, that's it for this one, so on to the next one. Now this fight is one of my favorites. Like, I love the concept of this. Everyone, the battle of the century. The duel of the dogs. Krypto versus Underdog. So for those of you who don't know and somehow can't tell by this very obvious picture here, Krypto is Superman's dog, or, you know, a super dog that he's from Krypton. And Underdog is from his own universe, and he is a super dog. I mean, I'm sure you knew that, but seriously, I love his name. Just gotta say that right now. So, just going through basic stats, I mean, I feel like Krypto's definitely stronger and has more special abilities. Intelligence? Honestly, I'm not sure. Haven't watched the original Underdog cartoon enough to know anything about how smart Underdog is. I only watched the movie where he was not portrayed to be smart at all, really. But just from clips I've seen of the TV show, I doubt that's how he always is. Krypto, though, always has seemed to be pretty smart, but just from 1 feet from the movie, Underdog is easily faster. He flew around the entire planet to catch a frisbee, stayed in China for a little bit, grabbed a bite to eat, took some souvenirs.
Man, that Kung Pao chicken was good.
Like, really, the fact that he did that actually happened in the movie. And trust me, that's much faster than lightning. So yeah, what else do I really have to say? They're both super dogs, that's why I wanted to have this fight happen sometime in the future. I know a lot of people might not like to see dogs kill each other, like, think about that for a bit, but, I mean, it still is a good fight, and I'm not too squeamish about that sort of thing, so, I mean, I'm fine with it. Anyway, let's move right on to the next one. You know, this fight also was somewhat of a last-minute addition, which is surprising considering what fight it is. I mean, you wouldn't expect this to be a last-minute thought. Here we are with... oh my god, once I say one of the characters, I doubt you can ever guess the other. Lucario versus Ren Aman. I mean, come on. So these two share a lot of similarities in my opinion, and just with how many they have, I really do think this would be a good fight. They're both agile, with a lot of power in special attacks, I think. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know much about Digimon, but I did do slight research on these. Not to mention this is another generic choice, so I'm sure it's somewhat good, right? That's how the internet works, right? Well, anyway. Doesn't matter in the end anyway. It's another Pokemon vs. Digimon fight, but this one is much more fair. Also, no trainers. There is at least one Lucario in the Pokemon world who can fight without a trainer, and I know for a fact Digimon can fight without their trainers, or, you know, Digi-destined or whatever. And since Renamon's a rookie level, which is a big surprise to me, I mean, seriously, from what I understand, she's very powerful for a rookie. So yeah, it's a fair Pokemon vs. Digimon death battle. That's basically the only real reason I included it on this list, I'll be completely honest with you. But I do like the concept of Pokemon vs. Digimon, so I have to put one of them here, so this is it, because it's the most reasonable fight, and makes a lot of sense, like there are Lucarios and Renamons, or there's a Lucario and a Ren Aman that would work really well in a fight together, so anyway, let's move on to the next one, because I spend barely any time on the ones that I find from the internets. Alright, so spoiler alert, the next two are also somewhat generic choices. I mean, how can I resist? They're so good. So, this one is two of the big baddies. No, not the big baddies. I'm talking about Darkseid versus Thanos. Or Thanos. I don't know. Either way, this one is like a Hawkeye Green Arrow situation. Like, they are so similar. They each have superhuman strength, speed, agility, telepathy, really good minds. Like, they're both really, really intelligent. Like, really, they are incredibly similar. I'm sure some people know, but I really can't tell who would win this fight because of how similar they are. I mean, really. And by the way, I'm not counting Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet, because, I mean, come on, that's just cheating, bro. I mean, what else can I say about this fight that someone else hasn't? It's pretty even, obviously. They're basically the same. Like, really, I don't have anything else to say. So anyway, let's get on to the last in our list.
And these nights are getting shorter. Lack of energy I'll conquer. In my soul, this is real. These nights are getting shorter. In my soul, this is real.
I have to say, this last one has to be my favorite. I mean, it might not be the closest death battle, but I don't know that yet. The fight I'm speaking of is Cole McGrath versus Alex Mercer. Infamous versus Prototype. These were two rival games. I mean, they both came out around the same time. They both had a similar premise. Although, I think Prototype was a bit more violent than Infamous could ever hope to be, even if you're Evil Cole. And also, sadly, Evil Cole I would have liked to see, but technically speaking, Death Battle can't do it because Good Cole is canon. Evil Cole is not canon. Sorry to all of you who thought Evil Cole would be a cool matchup, but he just wouldn't work. So ultimately, I feel like this comes down to special versus physical attacks, but it's more than that. I mean, if it was just that, then Alex would never die, because while Cole could keep him at a distance with his ranged attacks, Alex can survive all of them. And even if Cole manages to knock him out, or get him out of the fight, he can easily regenerate from something like that. The only thing he didn't regenerate from was James Heller consuming him. So this is the only fight where I'm actually going to say how I think it would go down if it actually happened. So, how the fight starts, I don't know. That's for Torian to decide. But I feel like it would mostly be a close-range battle because Cole has a few abilities that can keep Alex at a distance, but not nearly as effective as Alex's abilities to get in, like his shield, his armor, and all that. But there was one thing that was mostly only mentioned in the comics. I mean, it was DLC for the first game, the Gigawatt Blades. Also, people who played PlayStation All-Stars will recognize this from his side square. You see, these Gigawatt Blades are incredibly good cutting weapons, which makes them extremely good against Alex Mercer, whose limbs can be cut off. I mean, I'm sure they grow back, but over a long period of time. So all Cole has to do with these gigawatt blades is just cut off each of Alex's different power-ups and do exactly what James Heller ended up doing. Sadly, I have to say, the only way Cole could logically kill Alex is by doing the one thing he's against. He would have to use his drain ability. Don't remember what the normal drain is called. I know the super powerful version is ionic drain. Also, another thing is, even if there is no electricity in the area, I have to point out the fact that Cole can summon a lightning storm to him wherever he is. Not to mention, Alex also needs a healing source, usually just random civilians walking around. I'm pretty sure he regenerates normally, but so does Cole. The only difference is Cole needs a bunch of energy to be able to use all of his abilities. So yeah, ultimately I think Cole would end up winning, but obviously I'm not sure the full extent of Alex Mercer. He's extremely powerful, but even when he consumed a bunch of his disciples, I guess, he still couldn't beat James Heller. I mean, of course, I'm not going to bother looking into exactly how strong James Heller is, but you know when you combine with, like, 7 people and still can't beat one person, that you have somewhat of a problem. But anyway, the drain ability does actually drain all of your electrical energy, I guess, from your body. Like, I'm pretty sure the way it works would, even if it didn't necessarily kill Alex, it would completely destroy his brain. There would be nothing left, because all of the charges would be gone. And I know the way the virus works in regenerating him, it somehow might regenerate that too, but I don't think so. Just knowing how this whole thing works. And even with that, I don't think it would be able to regenerate him, because the virus needs that electromagnetic field too. So, anyway, that was it for this top 10 video. If you want to see another in the future, just leave a comment and I might make it like a year from now, because I don't have any other ideas. What did you think I was full of them? I mean, I have like 3. So if you're really interested, yeah, leave the comment, but just keep in mind it probably won't happen for a very long time, if it does at all. Well, anyway, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a like. If you want to see more death battle related videos, be sure to subscribe. Not gonna promise more videos like this. Anyway, see you in the next video.